All right, it's time to talk Spider-Man Homecoming. The big news is that 2017's incredible winning streak of superhero movies continues. Not just with superhero movies being generally good, but with superhero movies being generally great. Holy shit, is this a good year for superhero movies? Well, here comes Spider-Man 3. And of course, it's a little bit controversial. This is our third time doing Spider-Man. But hey, that worked out pretty well for Batman, technically. I mean, depending on how you break up the different Batman. So let's talk about this. First of all, there are several key things that Spider-Man Homecoming does that it absolutely nails and is absolutely perfect. So perfect that it helps me overlook all the tiny weird things it does that don't really work at all. Because there are a handful of tiny weird things that don't really work at all. But honestly, the things it gets right totally elevate beyond those things. Those issues are almost moot compared to what it gets right. So let's start with what it gets right. First of all, it's in high school. And I am of the personal opinion that Spider-Man just always has and always will work better as a high school kid. Honestly, that's why I was reading Ultimate Spider-Man for a long point after I stopped reading regular Spider-Man. Because Ultimate Spider-Man kept Spider-Man in this high school box where I found his character still interesting and relatable, and I wasn't constantly thinking, man, you are in your 30s, you should have more emotional intelligence than this by now. That's the thing. Spider-Man don't have a lot of emotional intelligence in a lot of things, as proven by the Brand New Day storyline. Yes, I'm still upset about that. I'm old. Deal with it. But yes, putting him in high school, perfect choice. Honestly, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's best movies as Spider-Man also took place in high school. Just pointing that out. But the thing that really makes it, one of the things that really, really makes it and actually puts it up there is one of the reasons why I think of this as this is possibly my favorite MCU movie. This is possibly my favorite MCU movie, despite the fact that it is actually almost completely still a Sony film. It just happens to take place and use the resources of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But I don't remember seeing a Disney logo at the beginning of this movie anywhere. Anyways, getting back on point. Michael fucking Keaton. He's awesome. The movie opens on him, introducing us to him as his character. Because this movie, unlike a lot of other MCU movies, remembers that superheroes are actually, believe it or not, only as significant as the threat they are facing. And Michael Keaton is fantastic. As a villain, his motivations are even likable and believable, and at points you almost want to root for him. He's the working class guy who's been pushed around by the big billionaires like Tony Stark. He just wants to have at the start of the movie, he's trying to earn an honest living, taking advantage of the situation in New York, only to have Tony Stark's semi-privatized government agency Damage Control come in and kick him off his own job, even though he's already got a contract with the city. So he just decides to keep some of that technology while the Tinkerer, I really got to start using IMDb before I do these videos. The Tinkerer, played by the main character, Orange and the New Black's brother, plays the Tinker, who designs all the weapons. He does a good job too. Incidentally, this movie has technically 5 villains in it, and it doesn't fuck it up. A lot of people always say, oh, they put too many villains in it, that's why the movie was bad. No. Movies that put in too many villains fuck up because they don't know how to prioritize which villains are essential to the story and which ones are just background. This movie gets it. Michael Keaton is essential to the story. And that's another thing. You got to have the villain be essential to the story. This is something that a lot of Marvel movies fuck up. They just sort of have somebody there who typically is just like a reverse version of the main character. Not terribly satisfying. But Michael Keaton is perfect. He is exactly the type of villain you want to have because at various points you feel like you should be on his side if he wasn't a murderous psychopath. The other reason this movie is great, and what actually elevated it, because for a large portion of the movie I was watching it, giving it, having sort of an 8.5 vibe to it. But the third act delivers. And the third act makes me bring the score up to a 9. Because the third act delivers something to us that we haven't really seen much of in current superhero movies. In movies where Wolverine is slashing through people's heads, Superman is shooting machine guns through jeeps, and Iron Man executes terrorists at point blank range with miniature rocket launchers. Spider-Man brings us something true heroism. He's not a murderer, he doesn't kill, and he wants everyone to be okay. That's really something that we've been missing a lot in not just DC's, so calm your tits. Pretty much everybody's. Marvel kills a lot of people and has a lot of innocent civilian casualties. They just don't draw your attention to it. They're just like, no, don't pay attention to that. But this movie really nails the heroism. And I'll talk some more about that in spoilers in a second. Real quick, the things that don't really work. Because like I said, there are some small things that don't really work. But they're all pretty small. For starters, Hot Aunt May. Hot Aunt May is weird. And I think Hot Aunt May is actually made weirder by the fact that the movie can't stop reminding us that Aunt May is hot. Characters are constantly hitting on her or teasing Peter Parker about her being hot. Which is just like... It's weird. It's weird as someone who's read Spider-Man for so long, and Aunt May has always been at least 60. But now we have like mid-40s hot Aunt May, and it's weird. It's a really weird thing, especially the scene where she's trying to comfort Peter and he has like his head on her stomach. That was a really weirdly uncomfortable scene. And maybe that's on me. I don't know. But like, for all the self-awareness about our hotness that the movie shoves in our faces, you'd think someone would have been like, is it weird to have this scene shot like this? I don't know. Maybe that's on me. But I found it kind of distractingly weird that Aunt May was hot. Also, MJ. Oh, no, I'll save that for the spoilers. Flash Thompson. Flash Thompson is... Okay, for starters, the problem with Flash Thompson is not that he is Indian. Let me just be clear. The problem with Flash Thompson is not that he is Indian. The problem with Flash Thompson is that he's a nerd. Like, he's even on the academic decathlon team with Peter. Like, second of all, it diminishes the fact that Peter's a giant nerd if two of the most popular kids in his school are also giant nerds. That's, like, weird. Isn't Flash Thompson supposed to be a jock? Like, I have more issue with him not being a jock than I have with him being Indian. Because it feels like a weird dichotomy for this to be the bully. I don't think it really works. If they'd made him and maybe that's too stereotypical to make a jock, but, like, he doesn't feel like there's never a moment where you're like, oh, he's going to beat up Spider-Man. There's never a moment like that. He just sort of he's just very passive-aggressive and like constantly harassing him and undermining him. So it's a much more less direct aggression. And I don't really, it didn't really work for me. Also there's, like, not the ending, but like, there's a couple weird there's some things about the ending that are weird. We'll talk about that in spoilers. Okay, so actually, I think that's about all I can talk about the spoilers. So like I was saying, a 9. This actually may be the best Spider-Man movie I've ever seen. And it is also, in my personal opinion, the best movie in the MCU. Despite having some little weird wonky bits and pieces to it, I think this movie is absolutely the best one that I've seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I highly recommend it. If you have not already seen it. Okay, so now we're going to do spoilers. So if you don't want to see spoilers, turn off the video now. Please like, subscribe, comment, whatever it is you do. Or share. You can share it. I don't care. Uh, bring the love. All right. So spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Spoilers. Okay. So here's the thing that really does what I was referring to briefly about the third act heroism is the fact that, and this is a big one, in the final battle with Michael Keaton's Vulture, Spider-Man saves the Vulture. He actually saves his life in the final battle. And that's a big deal because movie heroes don't like to save lives. And like that's not a new thing. Movie superheroes have been killing villains since the beginning for some reason. Like Batman didn't save the Joker at the end of Tim Burton's Batman. No, he caused him to fall from a helicopter and die. Uh like and this has continued on until now. There's a lot of violence and whatnot in comic book and superhero movies, and it's refreshing to see a superhero who actually doesn't want to kill people, who actually does want to save lives. The only other real superhero movie I can think of where the director made a big deal of a character's heroic code was actually Christian Bale in Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. Although it didn't stop Robin and Catwoman from killing people with guns in those movies, but still that's still better than what we've had recently, which is just superheroes murdering people. And before anyone gets on the DC being the murder house, let's be real here. Let's be real here. The Marvel movies have been killing people for a while. They just don't like to draw your attention to the fact they're killing people. Iron Man 1, for God's sakes, he swoops in and just flat out kills a bunch of terrorists. He kills all the extremist dudes in Iron Man 3. There's absolutely no attention drawn to how many serious civilian casualties would definitely have occurred during Iron Man 2. So, like, to see Spider-Man actually care about saving lives, and not just anyone's lives, but actually Vulture's life, that's big. That's huge. That's a great thing. That's an amazing thing to have in a superhero movie that we just don't see every day. And that's really part of what makes me go, this is the MCU movie that I'm holding up, that I'm saying this is the best MCU movie. Because that's just something that we haven't seen, that needs to be seen. I mean, hell, even the other movie I previously said as the best MCU movie, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, they murder a ton of people. So this is a big deal. And I feel like it should be rewarded and championed for this, for morality, for doing the right thing, for not being a murder machine. I think that's good. Okay, so also the third act is also fantastic because of everything that happens with Michael Keaton and discovering who Peter Parker is. And it is a little bit cliche that Peter Parker's love interest does turn out to be the Vulture's daughter. It's a little bit cliche, but it works so well as a story beat. It really ties things together and raises the stakes and also pulls Spider-Man and Vulture back together after, I almost forgot the other thing that annoys me, the Iron Man stuff. Like, it's all very functional to the plot and the journey of the character, so I can't complain terribly much. But God, I'm just sick of Iron Man. I'm just so goddamn tired of him. I've never been a huge Iron Man fan. Literally, Iron Man represents almost everything that I hate. Neoconservative, military-industrial complex, alcoholic, arrogant a-hole. Not a fan of him as a character. I think Robert Downey Jr. does an amazingly phenomenal job playing him, but I just don't like Iron Man as a character. Not a bad character, mind you. I just don't like him. And I've gotten very tired of seeing him in everything. It would have been nice to see this movie sort of just be more about Spider-Man. But it does create more of a unique arc for his character, although a little bit cliche. Really, we've seen kind of that arc before in other stories. But still, it's functional, it works, and it's different for Spider-Man. We've never seen him have a mentor before. All right, the Mary Jane thing. They made her name's not Mary Jane. It's Michelle Jane. The movie deliberately does this to confuse us as to which character is MJ. And like that feels a lot like how we got Robin into The Dark Knight Rises, if you think about it. Only there it's a little bit less weird because we've had a bunch of different Robins and they've all had different names. But Mary Jane is iconic. And yes, part of me is just sad that the reference to marijuana has been removed by making her Michelle Jane instead of Mary Jane. But like, I just don't understand this choice. It should just make her Mary Jane. Just make her Mary Jane. Get it over with. Is it because you cast a black actor instead? You didn't want to make it Mary Jane? Incidentally, notice weird. Incidentally, what is up with this? How come the characters that Hollywood is most likely to change from white to black are almost always gingers? What's that? I don't know what that's about. I don't know if that's like a weird Hollywood thing. Well, we can make the gingers into black characters. I don't know what that's about. The ending. I like the third act. I have mixed feelings about the endings. Like, I don't understand the part where he turns down the Avenger, or he turns down joining the Avengers. It just, like, I get what you're doing with the character, and I get that, but, like, why? What's the purpose? What is the purpose of this? Of having him turn down joining the Avengers right now? Like, he's clearly gonna be in Infinity Gauntlet, so he's gonna clearly become an Avenger. Why are you delaying it? It's not necessary to have this delay to it. It just, I don't know. It feels unnecessary to have him turn it down. I found that bit, actually, to be completely honest, kind of cringeworthy. If it had been a test, I would have forgiven it. But when it turns out they did have a room full of reporters, I was kind of like, oh, I hate that. Also, I don't know how I feel. Also, Hollywood hates secret identities, which is weird. So I don't like, Aunt May finds out who Spider-Man is at the very, like, that's literally how the movie ends, with her, Spider-Man, close your fucking door. Literally comes in just in time to see Spider-Man in his costume and go, what the and you can tell she's gonna say what the fuck, but it cuts the credits, which is kind of funny. But like, I don't know how I feel about the fact that no one has a secret identity in the Marvel universe anymore. I mean, he does, but like, Spider-Man keeping his secret identity from his aunt has been a long running thing, and I get it. She's younger and she's more aware and like knows he's been sneaking out at night, so it'd be really hard for him to maintain that. But yeah, I just don't. I don't know. That just doesn't vibe with me. But honestly, all these complaints I have are small. They really don't matter compared to the three things that work phenomenally about it. Oh, also, I do like Ned Leeds, although it's obvious they're trying. He's definitely more Miles Morales' Asian friend character from Ultimate Spider-Man. Just been transported from being Miles Morales' friend to Peter Parker's friend, and been given the name Ned Leeds, which, I'll be honest, if you do turn him into the Hobgoblin in the future, I'll be impressed. I will be impressed if you find a way to sell that. I will be impressed. But yeah, let's see here if there's anything I'm forgetting. Oh, right, the Shocker. Okay, so the main villains in the movie are the Vulture, the Tinker, and Shockers 1 and 2. That's right, there are two Shockers. Now, a lot of people, when the movie was first announced, it was announced that the Shocker was going to be black. And the second Shocker is black. The first Shocker, who looks a lot like Shocker from the comic books, is killed by the Vulture. He actually has, like, the jacket the Shocker has. But he gets killed by the Vulture, and the Vulture eventually hands the title of Shocker to the other guy, who is, what's his name from Fargo? I forget his name. I'm pretty sure it's the guy from Fargo. But yeah, no, he does a great job. They all do a great job, honestly. Movie doesn't really clarify the fact that Shocker knows who Spider-Man is. That's a loose end. It doesn't really tie up. Also, this is the Spider-Man Homecoming. Just a heads up, Spider-Man Homecoming, and I should have mentioned this before the spoilers, is another movie that lies to you in the trailer. There are several parts in the trailer that either don't happen in the movie or happen differently in the movie. So that trend continues. It's somewhere in between what Suicide Squad did with their trailers and somewhere in between what Rogue One did with their trailers. Where there's just stuff that just isn't in the movie or happens differently or has been recontextualized for the trailer in a weird way. Honestly, it's great. Go see Spider-Man Homecoming. Oh, I will also say that they literally also do go to a homecoming dance, so that I actually find the title kind of really cheesy and corny, and I do not approve. But that being said, Spider-Man Homecoming is great. If you haven't seen it already, go see it. 100% recommend. It's been a killer year for superhero movies. Fingers crossed that Thor, Ragnarok, and Justice League won't break the streak. Because right now the streak is running strong. All right.